Okay. Last section we had just a demo class on what is a path, what is this software testing all about, and we able to dive in details. What is your career path and why do you need to do this software testing, and what is this software testing actually, and why do you have to do software testing, and how is being done in different classes, different ways we do software testing. Can someone just give me a detail summary of what we discussed if you have watched the video? How do we do software testing? Anyone summary so can quickly go into um, last demo section, drag us to what we have for today. Anyone is unmuted?
Yeah, last week we talked about software testing, why software testing, how software testing, and we also talked about what else? The important how the importance of software testing and also the meaning.
Okay.
Do you want me to give a definition or what do you want me to do?
No,
Yeah,
that's a summary.
software testing is an act of examining the active effect of a software, the behavior, and verifying via verifying and validation of that software. Actually, it's all about if a software is built, before you launch it out, you need to find out if there's error, if they're well taken care of before it's launched out. Because if it's out, the company will pay more to do the correction and the validation.
Okay, what you just said about that, what you discussed about Q, the role of the Q and the QC. What are the difference between the Q and the QC? And it's just the difference between this Q and the QC, because the QA has the company need more someone to assure the product, the software being released into the, because you have the power to release it. So I went into detail about what the QA does and what the QC does before going to the career part. And what are those, and we'll also talk about how ways you can do this software testing. You have the manual testing, which I told you, without any intervention of a automation, is manually, checking these functionalities without any automation impacts. Okay, that's manual. And also talk about database testing. You have to query the data because most industries, they keep the information of the employees. Everybody is a data. Most your e-commerce application, when you sign up for your username and password for any e-commerce application, if your banking application, there's a server that is being stored those information. The server, a database is being created in the server. Okay, just like a land, before you build, there must be a land. So the server is your land, and it's a database. It's that where you have to keep in the database. So all this information has been being stored in the server. So you as a QA, you have to do some kind of negative testing if this particular username is being created, if this particular string, if this, a lot of things you have to do, a lot of communication completion. That is database testing. And also talk about automation. And I'll just run some demo and what automation is for it to become an automation engineer. Right now, you don't need manual testing right now to become a manual QA analyst. Okay, so we're migrated to become a automation engineer. You need to learn some various languages. At least one. Java is mostly used. Okay, Python is coming up again now. So we have C#, we have Ruby, we have Scala. These are all what they call high-level languages, which you got to know when you start learning about Java. Okay, if you're migrating to field of becoming automation. Okay, so I'll talk about API also, which is spreading the market now. It's reselling the market, API testing. And I give a demo session about API testing, which is there's a 3 layers. We have the UI layer, we have the business logic, which is the middle layer, we have the database layer, the server where every information is being stored. And I give a sample example that just like you want to book a flight ticket, how do your Travelocity or your Cheapo Air or your all these agent sites where you book your flight tickets, okay, how do they know the kind of sittings, the kind of flight and the pricing at that particular moment of that particular flight? At that moment, you have to book that flight ticket. So all these things is being done using that API testing. So as a QA analyst, you need to know about API testing where you have to check the API is working fine. Okay, so it's what you need to dive into about API testing, which we're going to do almost to the end of the class, this training, and also talk about performance testing. So anybody remember what I talked about performance testing? Anyone? If you actually watch the video.
I,
What I say performance testing is?
I think the performance testing is talking about the number of people that can actually be used the application. You want to know whether within a particular range, should we go for it, or this is there, maybe it's 100 people, we won't do more than 100. If it is 1,000, we do maybe more of the application. I don't know. I think that's what I understand about redundancy in the application.
Yes, if there's a lot of people going to use that particular application, then you have to do PT, performance testing of it. So because of there won't be any redundancy in the code in the application, so it won't be slowed down in that application. So performance testing also is also needed for testing. And I also talk about your career paths. And if you are 2 years down the line, you be a test analyst, and you can also be a test architecture. You can be a product manager. You can be an automation expert. You can be a performance expert. You can be a QA or a QA expert. Okay, when we are starting our career, maybe you are less than 2 years of experience, then we are a junior tester. So at that point of time, yeah, you need to learn each and everything we have just discussed in the last section. You need to learn about manual testing, automation testing, at least those two. Then moving to performance testing, at least fair bit of all these things. Okay, as a junior tester, then moving to be a test analyst and a QA lead of your team.
Excuse me, Stanley. Hello,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sometimes your
You
line is
saying
breaking.
performance testing?
Yes.
Performance testing is the lower level of all testing.
Can you say that again?
Can you- I said, are you saying? I don't know. I don't know. Like you said, for you to be a QA performance tester. So what my says, performance tester is the lower level for the tester, just like your software testing, your manual Q. Is it manual Q testing like that? I want
Yeah.
to know.
As I told you, I said
Oh,
because you're in section of manual testing now, that's to become a QA analyst.
mm-hmm.
I can't tell you that, okay, learn everything about manual testing, forget about performance testing, forget about automation testing, forget about this, that, or any part of testing. No, all these things complement each other. They
Okay.
don't compete with each other.
Each other.
They
Okay, they work
complement, yeah, they
together.
complement.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
you need to learn fair a bit of all these things, at least. Then for you to be an expert, you need to then, just like you went to school, read general medicine. Then what is your specialty?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a surgeon, I'm a cardiologist, you know, you deal with human anatomy and all those stuff like that. Yes, these are all general medicine. Okay. So all these
Okay,
things,
so
performance
you have
testing,
first and foremost, sorry, Stanley.
yes.
That under this software test, we have specialization, so you can choose within, but you have an idea of all the courses.
Yeah, just have a fair idea for all these things, as the market is like, well, you don't have a fair bit of all these things. But at least you start from manual
Okay,
testing. Yes, that's fine. You're a manual tester, but at least you just
okay,
have a fair bit, not that you
okay,
really
okay.
know much about automation. Then you migrate, you start from manual testing, then
Others.
start moving
Oh,
to,
okay.
yeah, automation testing and database testing, all those stuff like that. At least for this one, just know a fair bit of all these things, which
Okay.
you're going to cover in the training, but not in depth. For those, that's why I
All
think
right.
there's a message that will be sent for those that want to enroll for a Java class side by side so they can move into automation. Because for you to move into automation testing, there's a tool which they call Selenium. It's very, very is a popular tool in the market which they use for automation testing. And for you to use that tool understand every languages. It must not be a Python developer before you can be able to use Selenium. No, it must not be a Java developer for you to use a Python or C# or Ruby, all these high-level languages. He accepts is a language binding. Okay, that's Selenium. So for you to automate that, use that Selenium tool for automation testing to become automation engineer, you need to know Java. And not in-depth Java, just the basis of Java for automation. You're not a developer. You're not developing any software. So for you to know core Java, no, it's just the basis of Java for you to do your automation, basis for you to know. Okay. So when you start Java class, you understand what I'm talking about. So that's what makes you that.
Okay.
But right now you are manual, no automation impact in this. It's just manual. You don't need any technical know-how into for this training for now. You don't need that. You just switch your manual or test analyst, automation QA analyst. So my network is breaking. Can you hear me? Am I vocal?
I can hear
Yeah,
you.
it is. It is.
Is it breaking?
It's breaking. I don't know. It's
Oh,
breaking. I don't know if it's my side or his side, but the network
But I can
is
hear you
breaking.
clearly from my side.
who else can hear me clearly? I think is your network.
I can hear you
Can you
too.
log out and
I
log
can
in
hear you
again?
too.
I thought it was my side because yours is breaking, Uche.
Okay. Let me log out and log in.
I think it's
Okay.
Ichigo. Ichigo, the
Okay.
network is breaking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe try and sign out and sign in
Yeah,
again.
you can sign and sign it. Yeah. Thank you.
So last class we also discussed about um why do you need to do this software testing and what is software testing and how it is software testing. Then from those definitions, we're able to derive that software testing is the integrated part of SDLC. It's an integrated part of SDLC. And I told you that I'm going to tell you in details of what that SDLC is. As a software test is a continuous process. Okay. It's a continuous process and is a part of integrated part of SDLC. Okay. So I told you that in the next section, you're going to realize what that SDLC is. So that's both about this topic for today. What is software? What is SDLC itself? We say software testing is a continuous process. Okay. I know most of us did biology in their high school, in their secondary school. Oh, someone did biology, right? Anyone familiar with biology?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, you can see this. We remember this in biology those days in school. This anybody remember something like this life cycle of a
Mm-hmm.
butterfly or a
Mm-hmm.
insect?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So you see that a butterfly has layers like different phases of development. We have the egg, we move to larva, from pupa to adult butterfly. This is a life cycle. So everything in life okay, is being developed, it has a life cycle of it to their maturity stage. Okay, so that's what in name and tell what SDLC is. SDLC is that particular thing that is being software is a particular thing that is being developed. So it's a continuous process, as I said, is a part, it's a integrated part of SDLC, which is a continuous process. So what is that SDLC? SDLC is software development life cycle. It's called software development life cycle. It's a fix. Please, Uche, are you still breaking? Can I hear you clearly? Confirm.
Still, let me still break it, but
But you can hear me clearly, right?
yeah, I can hear you. It's okay.
Okay. Okay, software is that particular thing also. Everything has a life cycle, like that of a pupa, butterfly, um, insect, or a cockroach. Anything has a life cycle from that end for the development state. So before we talk about software life cycle, let's talk about how it goes to build something. Okay, like let's go about the wall software. All right, whenever we are building anything, like we are embarking in the build of a house project or a car, they want to make a car or anything, any car project, a new model car is coming up in the Tesla, whatever it is, they try to build. So it's a process. Okay, so let's talk about anything about software right now. So any car or we are building a project. Okay, remember when we used to create a lot of projects when we were in school, going back into a project, right? So what goes to that to create something like, let's take like 15 to 20 minutes to explain from our own end before we start jumping to the terminologies. What do you understand by building? Like when we are building something, what does it take? What do you do that? What does it take? It's like 10 seconds. Anyone like back into a building? What does it take into going to the building project?
Yeah, building is just like a plan process for any project.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Abraham.
I think for me, building is like you have a picture of the end, but you have to start from the beginning.
You have your plans, everything with you, right?
Something, okay, this is what I want to, this could be the end goal, but you have to start from the initial to
Okay.
get to the end goal, yeah.
So, okay, whenever you are building something, we need to plan, all right? We need to plan for it. Okay, whenever we are building something, we need to plan for it, okay? There are different things we need to do before we start planning for that thing. So, as I told you, software development is life cycle, is that kind of thing that we have to plan, just like a phase of different phases. All right. So we need to plan for it. We need to define it. We need to design it. We need to build it and test it and deploy it. These are what SDLC takes. It's a phase, that of a biology, that of a life cycle of a butterfly, from egg to larva, pupa, and other stage into the adult state of a butterfly. So there's a planning phase in it. All right. So what happens during planning of it? Talking about the software development or sense. So SDLC stands for Software Development Life Cycle. Everything which is getting built has a complete life cycle of it. So here, SDLC means Software Development Life Cycle. So anything any other product, any general topic we are discussing in last few minutes, what goes to create something, we're saying that we have to plan for that particular thing. We have to go through a lot of processes. We need to design, we need to decide tools, and we need to decide requirements. First, we need to plan. Now, actually, what happens in planning phase in SDLC? Okay, so there's a phases of the SDLC, software development life cycle. We have the planning phase, we need to plan for that particular software. Then move to the other phase. We have defining phase, we have designing phase, we have building phase, we have testing phase. So all the phases, what does all this intents before we have the actual software? We have the actual iPhone 16 Pro Max or 15 Pro Max you have in your hands. What does it entail before you go to the market? There's a phase, there's a process. Okay, so now during this planning phase, let's take each one after the other. Planning first in SDLC. During planning phase, we are creating a software. So we are building it for some of the clients. Okay. So what will happen during this planning phase is that people from development team, let's not use the word business analyst now. Okay. Last section, if you want to also go back to the video, I'll talk about the role of a business analyst, like they're the one that bring those requirements, those to the tech people, to the tech team. This kind of application, this kind of banking application, this kind of software we have to produce, web-based application software, your Facebook application, your TikTok, and all those applications, whatever application they want to be, those profiles are done by the business people. Okay, so I don't want to use the word business analysts at this point. Developers, yes, anyone? Question? You have any question? Okay, so I try to unmute yourself. So during this planning, we are creating a software. So what will happen is that forget about developers, tech start at this point of time. So as soon as the client gives us some of the requirements, we plan for it. In this planning phase of the SDLC, we plan for it. We sit with the client, we start planning for this particular software that's going to the market. Everything, this is a crucial part in SDLC planning. You gather all those requirements. Suppose I'm creating a social media, for instance, I'm creating a social media application, all right? Now, the client said, I want to build a software that will allow people to interact with each other. I want Abraham not to come to the banking hall to deposit his check. I want him to stay in his house, take a screenshot of that particular check, and it will accredit into his account. These are the part of this requirement. Okay, so we are building this application. Okay, we are building something like a social media website that interact with each other, people are able to interact with each other. So we start sitting with the clients. That's the most crucial part of it. The planning phase here, the QA analyst, your profile is that you start sitting with the client and start gathering requirements. Very, very important. You start gathering requirements for what age group you are planning to launch this application and what locality you are planning to launch this application. There's some application that cannot be launched in Nigeria. There's an application website that cannot even launch in some other part of the world. So all these things have to be detailed in that requirement. What locality are you trying to launch this thing? Will it be based on iPhone or Android? I know some of you are used to sending, you use this application called TapTap or SendWave. You can see SendWave is not in web application. If anyone able to figure out that, you can use your SendWaves on your web-based applications. Have you ever anyone come across that?
Yes, I've come across that sometime.
Yes, yeah, you can use. So these are those particular requirements that's being gathered. It's from the business people, from the client actually. Okay, they say they want to launch this. Don't launch this application on the web. It should be strictly on iPhone. It should be on smartphones. Reason is known to them. So all these things happens in this planning phase. The requirement is being gathered, which is very crucial state. So it will be based on iPhone, or will it be based on iPhone, on Android? So do you want to make it a website of it? They said no. They want that tap or SendWave or AfriX or these applications, social media applications should be only for your smartphones. Raising no to them. So you, the QA, you ask questions. This is a big meeting right here because the Scrum Master is going to be here. The DBAs are going to be here. The project manager is going to be here. Everybody's a huge meeting. Like my organization, we have a very, very large meetings. And when it comes to gathering requirements, you have to be there. Everybody is there. The QA members are all there. The QA team is all there. The developers are all there. The Scrum Masters are all there. The project managers are all there. The managers are all there. It's a big meeting. The meeting lasts about 1 hour. As I told you, 70% of your work is going to be all meetings when you go into your job. 30% is just about coding and do all those things, testing. So these are large meetings, okay? Large meetings, I must tell you. So what to make it is going to make it a website as well. So all these things goes into the planning phase, in this phase here, which is part of SDLC. We have to give a working software. It's a process. That's why from that definition last week, I said software testing is what is a continuous process, it's an integrated part of what SDLC. So in a nutshell, in summary, what is planning in this phase? Planning is making the blueprint. You have it in your hands, all right? You have the template. It's a blueprint of what is created. That is creating the blueprint, what is needed to be created. That is just what is here in this meeting you guys are having. The planning phase, very crucial. The client is here. The stakeholders are all here. All right? Very big meeting, I must tell you. Any question, please? Unmute yourself. SDLC, software development lifecycle, is a phase. All right? This is planning phase. In summary, I told you that planning is making the blueprint of what is created. That is creating the blueprints of what is needed to be created. You want to launch your Facebook, you want to launch your TapTap or TikTok, Facebook. What kind of locality are you going to launch this? Does it require to launch in Nigeria? Nigeria is going to use it. We told you it's an ideal world, right? Okay, that's going to test. So are we going to make it an ideal world? All these questions are going to be asked by the QA members too in that large meeting. Okay, Nika, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. The question I want to ask is, okay, when you say planning, so who start the planning and what's the process for planning?
As I told you, I said, who brings this? The client brings this particular requirement to the tech people. Okay. So you asking who calls for this because they have everything before it goes into the market. You have to start this process. SDLC it's all about business people, but the QA member, you have to be there. Everybody's here. Data analysts are all here. DevOps guys are all here. Everybody is in the meeting right here. So we say we start the planning. We all start the planning. Every QA member start the planning. BAs, everybody start the planning. That's why you have to be in this meeting. They monitor your screen. They know that you should be in this meeting. Everybody have to be there. You have to discuss about it. The stakeholders, as they call for this meeting, everybody's here. Your manager calls for this meeting. Everybody have to be there. There's a new project that is about to be embarked. And what is that project? It's SDLC process. Okay? And you have to be planning for it. They bring that requirement. You have to start detailing these requirements. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Anyone else? The planning phase is about having the blueprints.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
I have a few questions. I think you probably said this clear. So the planning phase, you talked about the client, right? You saying the client, are you talking about the process owners or actually the client who owns the business?
Come again. You said that the client owns the business. What?
So I'm asking, so who's the client? Is he like the person that we trying to work with?
The client can be the client can be the end users. The
Right.
client can be your bank. Okay.
Mhm.
You're working in a tech company and is a tech servicing company. Okay. So the clients can be your Bank of America, Chase Bank, or your Facebook. Your client can be Deloitte, or you're working in Deloitte. Deloitte is just like is a tech servicing company too, TLC, and numerous of them. So they built application for their end clients. Okay. There are different phases of testing that you're going to learn in this training, and your doubt will be clarified. Okay. So your clients, even in the bank, your clients can be those in mortgage departments, those in customer service departments, those in account department can be your clients. The client can be anything. You are still working in Bank of America, still working in Chase Bank, but they also can be called your clients.
Right.
Account department can be your clients. It brings their requirement to the tech people in the banking, that they don't want you to come to the bank all the time to deposit. They want you to build this application for your bank website so that you can able to screenshot your check and automatically to be deposited in your account. So your client can be anybody. It can be your account department, it can be your mortgage department. Banks have different departments, right?
Mhm.
So they are your client too. If you're working in Deloitte, you're working in TLC, you're working in Infosys, or you're working in different numerous of them all in IT industry, they have clients, their end clients. Okay, the end client can be healthcare.gov or Texas Human Resources, Health and Human Resources. So they want to build a application for this, so people can able to log into the application and able to subscribe and take their healthcare for that particular year. So they build these applications.
Right.
So those are your client can be anyone. Anyone else? So that's planning phase.
All right.
Okay, sitting with the client.
Yeah, I have a second question
Right.
pertaining to the cycle that you have right here in the projector. Or so I just wanted to know, so the planning phase, right? You said it's a cycle and it's continuous. So after this planning phase, do we go to defining phase or the deployment phase? So which direction are we facing? I understand it's a cycle, so are we going clockwise or anti-clockwise?
You are going clockwise, okay? So your doubt to be we clarify to you as we move it. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just follow the phase. So right now we're just in the planning phase. What I say about planning phase is that is making the blueprints, okay? You have everything, okay? That's creating the blueprints of what is needed to be created. So there comes defining. There comes the defining phase. What do I mean by defining phase? We need to do the defining phase. We have gotten the idea. Now we have the blueprint of everything right here, okay? What we have to create. We have the blueprint of everything. This is my requirements. I like it. I want to build it. So we have to define each and every term of it. Just like a convenience store. I have in my mind I want to have a convenience store. So that's the blueprint, okay? That's my convenience store. So what's going to be my convenience store? The kiosk, where I'm going to put the drinks, the cooling drinks, the liquors, and the cakes, the pizza section, and I have to have the customer side where the checkout side where you have to do your payments, and maybe you have the self checkout. All those things, you have to start defining it.
Excuse me, Stanley.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Can we
you.
say the defining stage is, can we say the defining stage is like the foundation stage where you start doing your foundation. For example, you're building a house, you start the foundation.
Yes, define what are you defining? What is this door? What is it going to do for you? Door is for you to enter the house, right?
You know, in the process of in the process of your foundation, that's when you now say, okay, I'm going to have like 3-bedroom flat. I'm going to have like a 2-room flat. This is where the room is going to be. This is where
Yes,
the toilet, the restroom is going to be. This is where the kitchen is going to be.
that's defining.
Hello,
Yes,
Stanley.
that's defining. What is the
Okay.
rest going to do for you?
Thank you.
What is that door going to do for you? Okay, door is going to make it to enter into the building, right? It's going to make it link it to the other side of the room. So that's defining. All right. For now, technically, what login functionality is going to do for you? Your banking application, you have to log into username and password. Your Gmail account, you have to log into your username and password. What login functionality will do for this website? What's that difference? Yes, last section we're talking about notifications on Facebook, what kind of functionality this on Facebook. Some of you give search difference functionality. Some of you talk about the notification functionality, post difference, and all those stuff. These are functions. You are defining it. This one is for post difference functionality. This one is for search different functionality. So you are defining it. Okay, what these things are going to do for you. So that's what defining phase of SDLC is all about. What login functionality we do for this website, what search difference we do. If I am building a banking application, what will happen if I enter the customer's ID? You know, we need to define these things. So now we can able to define planning and planning and defining. We can now you can differentiate between planning and what defining state of SDLC. What is planning? Can someone tell me what is planning?
Planning is the making of the blueprint of what is needed to be created.
And what is defining?
I think defining is basically on defining the various parameters or components that will be required for the project.
So planning is all about, yes, thank you for that. Planning is all about sitting with the client and understanding their requirements, what they want to build, and creating a blueprint of it, as you said. So in defining, we are going to define each and every terminology which is going to be used in our software. We have to define each and every field, each and every function of every website. What this login is going to do for us? This login is for you to log into your home page so you can be able to land into that particular page. That's defining. You are defining the terminologies, what these terms, this functionality is going to do for you, which is talking about house, your doors and all this. What's door going to do for you? You are you mounting doors in your house for you to get entrance to the next building, right? Or to get entrance into your bedroom. So I'm defining it. This door is for this. This door is for this. This restroom is for visitors. This, all these things like that. So we are defining it, that defining states. What these websites, the login functionality is going to do for you. So you are defining the terminology. So defining phase is defining each functionality of that particular website. What login page is going to do for you. For planning, you have the blueprints, what you want to do. That's what the difference between planning phase and defining phase. Okay. Then after that comes designing, the designing phase of SDLC. Now, the difference between define and design is that, someone tell me the difference between the defining and designing. I didn't expect much, but you can try. I want you to make it interactable so you guys can be able to interact.
From my own understanding, if you have a plan or something, you don't a layman that will see the plan might not understand what you intend to do. It's just a plan. But with the definition of terminology, is getting a picture of what is in the plan.
Okay,
that's from my perspective. It's getting a picture. It's like you say it's a continuous process. So it's moving from level A to level B. So he's getting a picture of, okay, this is the plan, and from here I can understand from year to year to year to year. Okay, gradually something is actually building up.
Okay. Designing basically.
Mm.
Anyone else? Yeah. Like a team
Um,
here, just one person speaking.
okay, so I can say that the definition is just like an abstract presentation of what you're about to do. Okay, just like you having that in on your head, giving it a specific definition. And then I would say maybe the design is like a rough sketch of what you're about to do. Thank you.
Maybe do you have any definition to us that? Anything? Okay, designing basically means it's just in English terms. Designing basically means I have decided to create a website. I have to design it. Like this slide you are seeing on the screen right now, this slide, I want to create it. I design it a way that the background will be blue. That's why I design it, right? So I designed that the background will be blue, right? So another part that comes in designing is what architecture we are going to use. Okay, so in this designing phase, we have it's kind of it's divided into different phases. We have the architectural design, and we have the architectural design is what you call the technical design, and then we have the functional design. These are two phases right here in that of designing phase. So all these, there are two type of design. Yeah, it's what we call the architectural design. We're going to use the technical design we're going to use. So there are two types of design in any software. Number one, we have the technical design and we have the functional design. So all this we just explained about logging into the web page. I'm talking about you log into, you go to your UI page or um, a Facebook application or any website you are doing, you want to log into that page. So all this we just explained about logging into the web page. My user lining page will be of this color. I will be able to search anything on the search buttons. All these are functional design. That's what the functionality, what you are performing there. So all this falls under functional design. Okay. So after designing, there comes two different parts. We have functional design and technical design. Whatever I have said till now, they are functional design. Now comes the technical design, okay? I talk about the functional design. You can log into this page, the functionality, what it's going to do for you, what the website is going to do for you. I log into this particular page, I have to log, I'm able to log into that particular functionality, I'm able to land into that particular homepage of that particular website. All these stuffs fall under what we call functions, functional design. Then talking about the technical design, whenever I said till now, they're all functional designers. I told you the development lead, the tech lead of the team, they will be designing the framework. Okay. So technical design is something like I told about Java, using Java to build a particular web page. You have to design the framework. The development lead, the tech lead of the team, they will be designing the framework of that software. They will be designing the tools they are going to use for this particular software. We will use Java for developing this software. I will use .NET, I will use PHP. These are all languages and they want to use to define that, they design that particular software. I will use Python. So it depends on the requirement that you have on your plate right from the beginning, from this point. So you have we are going to decide what will be the technical design for your software. I'm going to use I will go to use Java for this particular application. Are we going to use Python? Are we going to use C#? Like this toggle right here. I don't want to, if you don't understand, you don't worry about it. Like if you can inspect this, when you start doing your Java, you understand what I mean by all this. Like you see, all these are what is in the backend. These are all called the HTML files, all right? Like here, if I want to get something from here, you can see it is found in this particular web page. This is about the technical design. I don't get panic about it. You get to understand this are about. These are what is all about. Is autocorrect, auto. You can see autocomplete off. That means you can type as infinity. You keep on typing. You see that keep on going because they said is auto complete off. So you can keep on typing to infinity. Your Google search is to infinity. So all these boys, sorry. Can you see my screen? Sorry, I didn't able to see my screen. Can you see my screen?
You can see the screen.
We can
Yes,
see
you can
the
see
screen
it
now.
now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see that this fall under the technical design. Okay, so you can see the developer builds this thing that in Google you can type to infinity. You can see here, you can see from the HTML file, you can see that the autocorrect is off, autocomplete off. Okay, you can see all these things are. If you understand that when you start doing your Java or everything like that, your HTML files. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that in designing, there are different phases for it. Okay, we have the technical design, we have the functional design. The functional design, the functional design is the functional design is log into your homepage, your text box, your username and password, what that functionality will do for you. That falls under functional design. And technical design is just I'll show to you what technicality I'm going to use. I'm going to use PHP to develop that particular software. Like this, Android is developed with C# or so. So those applications you have in your hands, those phones you have in your hands, is being developed by a language, a high-level language. When you enroll your Java class, you understand more about it, but don't go into much. I don't want to go into more technical aspect of it. So that falls under technical design. Your team lead, your development lead, your test manager, they will decide what kind of language, what kind of tool they're going to use for this particular application. Okay, are we going to use PHP? Are we going to use .NET? Are we going to use C#? I'm going to use Java. I'm going to use Python to develop that particular software. Every application you see, what you log in, is being developed by a high-level language, which is called Java or Python or C#. These are all high-level language. So those falls under technical design. Functional design is what I just explained to you up till now, that you log into your UI. UI means your user interface. Okay, you're able to log into your UI, you're able to log into your application, and you're able to see and log into your page, homepage. So all this phone falls under the the functional design. And technical design is about developing into language. Okay, your testing, you decide what kind of language you want to use, what kind of framework you want to embark on to build that application. So that is what that lies on. So then the other phase is about building. All right. So after that comes building phase. What comes with that building is we have to code actually. All right. This is about coding. We have to code actually. This is so self-explanatory term. So we build a software, the user interface, which is the UI development that will be working on the front end. Okay. I told you in the last section, there is what we call there's different profiles in the tech team. We have the front end developers, we have the back end developers. So the UI developers, UI means the user interface, what you and I are seeing right now. Okay. We're about to log into your chasebank.com or bankofamerica.com or facebook.com. That is what you see. That is UI, user interface. Interface, what you can see. Okay. So we have the front end developers. Okay. So they develop that particular application. What you can see, the picture, what you can see, all those web elements, everything on the web page. They develop all those things. So in that building phase is not just about coding. It's just self-explanatory. We build a software, the UI development that will be working on the front end, the people who are working in the database, they will be working and writing a lot of queries, okay, and a lot of instruct proceedings. And the people who are working as the backend developers, they will be designing the complete software in the building phase. Okay, so this reason is all about coding, and I told you about database testing. You as a QA member, that falls your line here. You'll be writing a lot of queries. Okay, you'll be writing a lot of SQL queries, try to get data, try to do some permutation combination. Is that particular text box, is it okay for logging? Because they say that text box, from this requirement, you see that text box here. Oh, sorry, let me go back to this. So that text box should be able to accept nothing less than 3 characters. Okay, so that text box should be able to accept alphanumeric numbers, like 10-digit numbers. So you'll be writing a lot of SQL queries, okay, to validate those particular functionalities. Okay, either text field or text packs. Either this particular to be able to accept only 10-digit numbers, you have to do those queries, okay? So you'll be writing a lot of SQL queries. So this building phase, and the SQL, we're going to do that in our training. We're going to understand what SQL, how to run SQL queries, how to and do a lot of SQL queries and run a lot of things. So we will do that in our training. Okay, so this building phase is all about coding. A lot of coding should be involved. A lot of test cases should be run a lot of codings. The Java developers are running a lot of code. So in the building phase of SDLC, it's not about running a lot of codes, writing a lot of queries and a lot of instruct procedures. And the people who are working as the back-end developers, they will be designing the complete software in the building phase. Okay, so in a nutshell, building phase is about coding the software. Whatever design you have your technical architecture has already given you one framework involved to work on. So in that, you now have to create a software. So building is about coding. You as a QA analyst, in our training, you will be instructed how to run a lot of queries from the server, getting a lot of queries from the server. You doing a lot of permutation combinations and seeing all those things. So you're going to do that in our training. All right. I hope no one has any question to this with respect to both from planning, defining, designing, and building. Any question? Okay, I think that is no, everybody is well understood. Okay, and then the other phase of SDLC, moving to that phase is what the testing phase. Now, testing, we discussed a lot of this during the last demo section. Why do you have to test? How do you do testing? What is testing? Okay, so I don't think I need to elaborate more on this testing phase because he had a lot of them during the last section. Testing is all about whatever we have built, we are going to test it. So here comes testing after the planning, the defining, designing, building, and then come testing. I think testing is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing is the 5th phase in the SDLC. Okay, any doubts? Definition we changed after this section. on testing. Okay, we talk about testing. Okay, and when it comes to testing, there's going to be a complete section, a complete topic on testing. We call it, and I told you in the last section about STLC, testing life cycle. T for Tango, all right? STLC, not SDLC. This is a complete life cycle for testers. You have a profile you're going to do it on your own. It's a life cycle on your own. You're going to do that in the next section. So in SDLC, testing is the what? Is the fourth phase, is the fifth phase in SDLC. So when it comes to the testing phase, we discuss a lot about testing, what is testing, how you do testing, and why testing and how testing. So I don't think I need to elaborate on this thing. But what I want to tell you in also is that testing is also a life cycle on its own. We're going to discuss that in the next training. Okay, it's a life cycle. As we have SDLC, so as we have testers life cycle, software testing life cycle. All right, it's a phase on its own again. So this is your own apt profile for your test leads. You guys have to do testing on your own. This one involve the business people, which you also have to be in this circle. Okay, but after this circle, but you all, as your profile, you still have to do the testing of that particular application. This is your own testers life cycle. Okay, but we're going to dive into that in our next section. Any doubts over this definition? Okay, any doubts about this? The planning phase, defining phase, designing phase, building phase, before we go to the last phase, we call deployment phase. You can meet yourself if you have any question, let me know.
No, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
All
With
right.
respect to the this Abraham, with respect to the designing phase, how do one know the high level language to use if you want to
All
do the design?
depend. It all depends your test lead. It all
Okay.
depends on your test lead. You tell that let's
Okay.
use Java.
Okay.
They have kind of analytical, the PA, they have kind of analytical skill or analytical tool. They know where the traffic is coming from. You know, Java is a popular language. Java is sparingly used. Sometimes when you download Java, when you start doing your Java, sometimes some application, all application runs with Java. Okay. If Java is not installed in your system, any application that works with Java will not work. So they know the analytical to where the traffic is coming from. Okay, Java is a popular language. Python is taking over. Python is coming to the market right now because most AI machine learning language they all use Python. Easy to learn, you know. Java is also easy to learn. They're all high level language. So it depends on your architectural, your test architecture. And as I told you, last slide demo section, I say we have a test architecture. It can be a project manager, you can be a QA expert. These are experts. So the test leads, your test architecture, they design the framework. So what kind of framework I'm going to design with this Microsoft tablets? It's going to be on C#, it's going to be on Python. They know where the traffic is coming from. They have kind of analytical tool where they know which language is popular in the market right now and which is able to, it all depends on the test lead, your test manager. So
Okay.
all depends on it. So that's why I say that in SDLC, the last phase is what we call the tester's life cycle. The testing is only the fourth, is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth phase in SDLC. This is about the business people. SDLC is all in this is the business people. As I told you, that everyone is involved in this meeting. The DA, the Scrum Master, the database analysts, the project managers, everybody is involved in this meeting. The QA members are all here in that meeting. So then they then decide within ourselves now, which is going to discuss in the next section about the testers life cycle, STLC, not SD. T for Tango, STLC, software testers life cycle. Software testing life cycle is the phase of for the testers now. For you as a QA tester, you have a life cycle for it. So we're going to discuss that in our next training. All right. For this one now is for the involve the business people. Okay. Anyone else? Yemi, do you have any question? Are you
Yeah,
there?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. On this software development life cycle, with the planning, define, designing and building, and up to the testing.
Mhm.
Looking at it, is there any time frame between the SDLC to be projected and executed? Just want to know maybe there's a time frame because I know people use Agile or Scrum to know the time frame, but is there any
Yeah,
time frame?
I don't want you to go. I don't want you to be forward. Okay,
Okay, no,
you want that
I'm
to be
not looking
clarified.
for. I'm just talking about
Yeah.
the SDLC now. Is there any time frame for that?
There's a time frame. There's a time frame, and you got to know that in the section. There's a time frame. The time frame depends on what kind of project or companies are embarking on. Okay, so
Okay,
you learn different models. So we I don't want us to for those that don't really understand that, just trying to get it acquainted. So there are
okay, no problem.
different models in it. It depends on what your company is embarking on. So we're going to learn that in the next few minutes. Well, that will be will be clarified. Okay, just follow the topic, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have anyone else any question before we go into the last phase of deployment? Ola, you have any question before moving? Okay, the last phase, we've talked about planning, having a blueprint, defining terminologies, designing, which talks about the technical and the functional design, what the login page is going to do for you, that functional technical design. Once you can see the UI, I'm going to the why am I seeing a text box on my screen? My ID, username, and password, what am I seeing on my screen? That functional design, what that thing is going to do for me. Okay, I'm going to log in into it and able to log into that particular homepage. That's their functional function. What their functionality going to do for me. The functional design. The technical design is what kind of framework are we going to build that particular software, because it intends to two phases: the technical design and the functional design. Right? The technical design is your team lead manager, your test lead, your test manager design. What kind of framework are we going to build? Are we going to use? What kind of language we use to design this particular application? It's going to be Java or Python and all those stuff. So everybody be doing it. So building is about the UI base. We have the front end developers, also the back end developers, right? So we are getting those queries. So where are you getting those queries from? You're getting those queries from the server. So everybody will be doing a lot of coding right here. The database developers will be running a lot of SQL queries, the Java developers will run a lot of test script, test cases, and all those stuff like that. So you in this training, you'll be learning SQL, right? So you're getting a lot of data from the server, right? So building phase in SDLC is all about coding. Testing, we define a lot of things in last section. Testing, you have to, anything you build, you have to test it. And I told you also there's going to be a phase for this testing. Your own phase, your profile, your own team, tester life cycle. All right. So deployment now. After this comes deployment, we have a lot of deployment guys in our team who deploys the code to the UAT server, user acceptance testing server. Okay, is called the UAT server? It's called the user acceptance testing server, UAT server, right? So we have a lot of guys in the team that does this particular deployment. So we have in a testing world, in a QA world, we have testing server, deployment server, production server, all these websites we are seeing, like your Chase Bank, Bank of America, TikTok, any website, the TapTap or whatever website you're logging in, they're all in production server. What you can see now, the client can see that they have been deployed, they are in the production server. So we are using all all these websites we are using are all in production server. Before anything goes on production server, they do all kinds of testing of it. All these server like deployment, testing, UAT, the UAT server, all those are meant for testing the particular software. All these technologies should be clear to us as we proceed, okay, in this section. All right. So now, who deployed the software? Who deployed the software? Can anyone answer me that? Who deployed the software? I will expect a clear answer, but can you just try? Who deployed that particular software? We have talked about the planning, defining, designing, building, testing, deployment.
QA
So
also.
the QA, okay, who else?
Yeah.
The QA deployed the software. So everyone is part of the team. Everyone is part of the team, okay, the deploying software. But software deployment lifecycle will be telling you a lot of models, right? So you're going to understand that in a brief. So is the responsibility of the deployment engineers only, all right? Is the responsibility of the deployment engineers only. There's one profile under something called, have anyone anything about DevOps? DevOps
Yes.
engineer? DevOps.
Development engineer, yeah.
Yeah, they do the deployment.
Development engineer or developer, no man develop software.
Yeah, DevOps. What is DevOps? Can you tell me what is DevOps?
Please, we
What is
are not
DevOps?
in Yoruba class. This is English class.
Hi, Uche, you are breaking. What's wrong with the network?
I don't know, but I can still manage to hear you guys.
Okay, what they say? I can hear you now. You say what?
So I was talking to Yinka that we are in English class, not Yoruba class.
Ah, how do you mean? I'm not speaking Yoruba.
You're not speaking Yoruba. So what is DevOps? Can someone tell me what is DevOps?
DevOps are developers.
And what does it mean? Abraham, have you heard about anyone about DevOps?
I've heard about DevOps. I think they are
Yeah,
developers.
Yeah,
I think they are developers.
it stands for development and operations. It's the two acronym, two words together.
Okay.
So they have the profile to deploy that particular software. They deploy that particular software. They profile under in QA we call DevOps. Okay, so who deploy the software? Everyone is part of the team. So software development lifecycle will be telling you a lot of models. So we're going to talk about that. So it's a responsibility, as I said, of the deployment engineers only. One profile under something called DevOps engineers, deployment engineers. And so they do that particular deployment of that particular software. After all these things, all the phases, planning, defining, building, coding, and you are testing it, you are here, all right? QAs are all here. They also have their own phase, as I told you, SDLC. After then, shift it, okay? Deployment now to the clients. What you see on your facebook.com, chasebank.com, Barclays Bank, and all those things, they are all in production server. So it's the work of those production engineers, deployment engineers, DevOps profile to deploy that particular software. If you want to learn DevOps, it's really trading the market too. Okay. All right. Any question? Anybody? Any question? Any doubts? All right. Can you see my screen now? Okay. Okay, we all have a car. We have a Honda Accord. We have a Honda Odyssey. We have a Toyota. We have Toyota Matrix, right? We have different cars, right? So you have different models of cars, right? We have the make. The make is what? Honda. And the model, what model are you riding? Okay, it's Toyota, Yaris, or whatever. It's Honda Odyssey, or whatever. So SDLC has different models. It depends on which one your company, your organization is embarking on. So SDLC, we have what we call the waterfall model. That's not what is waterfall. Forget about model. Forget about SDLC. What is waterfall?
I think the word is related to geography.
Yeah.
For me, and it depends where's water streaming from like a mountain down to the valley. It's flowing from the
Yes.
top of the mountain and it's flowing down to the valley and stretching through the other parts of the rocks beneath.
You mean top to ground.
Mhm.
Okay, that's waterfall. We have been to vacations, we see waterfall coming from the rock. Waterfall. Anyone else? Waterfall? What else about waterfall?
Yeah, I have
Yes.
an idea. Waterfall is a traditional way of doing things or carrying out stuff.
Okay. So after SDLC, we talk about a few of the models for software deployment life cycles. And I told you that first is the waterfall model. Okay, you can see here. So now what happens in waterfall? What is waterfall? You said something, people that do geography, you can see waterfall, or those that are going to vacations, you see waterfall coming from the rock. So waterfall is like a flowing of water from up to ground, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. So water coming from the flow from water from up to the ground level. So now technically what happens in waterfall is that since waterfall is flow of water from the top to the bottom, this technical defines the waterfall model. What is going to happen in waterfall model is that there will be a top to down approach. Top to down approach. You can see the diagram right here. It's called top to ground approach. It's a model. SDLC is a model. It depends on your organization, what company you are in, and what kind of methodology they want to embark on. Okay, so there are different models of SDLC. All right, so you can see one of those models is what we call the waterfall model. It's a traditional, they call it traditional, it's an old, they call it traditional waterfall model. Okay, so this technical defines the waterfall model. What is going to happen in waterfall model is that there will be a top to ground, top to down approach, top to down, all right? From the top to the down approach. We have different phases for it. You can either call waterfall to be a linear model. I don't know that in mathematics. Maybe I know you say mathematics. What is linear? What is linear? What do you mean by linear?
Linear just means straight line.
Straight line, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is also as a linear model. You can either call it traditional waterfall model and call it a linear model, all are all the same words. Okay? Arranged in a linear, as you say, is arranged in an extending along straight line, right? Or nearly straight line, okay? Or you can say progressing from, I'm taking from an English term, right? So progressing from one stage to another in a single series of steps, or you can go sequentially. That's what a linear narrative is. So traditional waterfall model is that typical example of a linear model, top to ground mode approach. It depends on what model your company want to undergo. It's called traditional. Either you call it traditional waterfall model or linear model, or the same. So, or what happens from top to down model, linear model, waterfall model? All these words are used and the meaning of these words are all the same, as I told you. Now, what happens in a waterfall model? There will be a top to down approach. So what happens at the top during the software development life cycle is that first of all, the requirement gathering happens.
Excuse me, Stanley.
Yes,
Stanley,
I can hear you.
can we also say top to can we also say top to bottom steps approach?
Yeah, it's also the
Or it
same.
must
Top,
be
top, bottom, not the
top
same.
to down?
Yes, it's just
Okay.
like water. Where is water coming down? Where is it coming from? From up to down, top to down, or top to bottom, anywhere you want to call it. All the same thing. It's just waterfall. Okay? You start something, you move to the other stage, you move to the other stage, move to the other stage. You see that from top to down. All right? So from this point to this point. Okay? So that's waterfall model. So now, what happens in the waterfall? Yes, I have a question. Are you clarified? Are you okay? Okay. Now, what happens in waterfall model? There will be a top to down approach. So what happens at the top during the software deployment? First of first, the first is requirement gathering. You can see here, you can see the requirements gathering happens. This is the planning phase. The requirement gathering analysis. Okay, the people from the development team sit with the clients and they gather a lot of requirements, what they want to build, and they create a blueprint. This is topmost, as I told you, this is always the topmost thing that happen in any software development life cycle. You have to get your requirement. The requirement has to be well understood and well known. Don't make mistakes before you get to the end users. Know your requirements, sit with the clients, understand everything is well understood. So this is what happens when your company wants to embark in waterfall model. Okay, it starts from the top, and the top is from requirements. It should be understood. What requirements? What software are you building? What locality? What age group you have to use this? All those requirements have to be here in this phase from the top. Requirement gathering analysis, the planning phase. This is the topmost thing that happens in any software development life cycle. So from there, they will do the requirement gathering, design, system design, implementation, testing, deployment of system, and then the maintenance. Now, what happens in implementation? What happens in implementation? Implementation here is all about coding, implementing it, okay? It's all about coding. Implementation is all about coding. All the projects, all the people that is participating in the development of the software, the database analyst, the Java developer, everyone here, you start code. I told you just like that. That's what implementation is when it comes to software, when it comes to waterfall. So implementation here is all about coding. Okay, people that is participating in the development of the software, be it the database developer, front-end developer, back-end developer, they will implement what that has already been designed. Okay? And we all know that design is in two phases, right? What are those two phases of design? Anyone tell me? I just told you that.
Technical design.
Functional and technical.
Technical. So you say that functional, the front-end developer, they're doing theirs. The back-end developers are doing theirs. So UI developers are doing theirs. So this coding, you start coding all these things when it comes to the implementation side. You see that from this phase, you get those requirements, designing it, then implementing it. It's about coding. The front-end developer, the back-end developers, they will implement what they have already been designed. And we all know that design is in two phases, as you said, technical design, which helps the developers to develop these things using the framework. Okay, that's the templates. Okay, using language, which language I'm going to use. Am I going to use Java? I'm going to use Python. So they know all those things. And also talk about functional design. Okay. So there comes testing. In waterfall model, testing is the fourth phase. 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing is the fourth phase. We have some amount of work that is already being developed. Then your test leads or your test manager will ask you to test this software where you are using the traditional waterfall model. And as I told you, testing has one particular phase, the tester's life cycle. The tester's life cycle, STLC. STLC. There's a life cycle for you all guys here as the testers. Your test lead, your test manager, you guys have your own cycle. Okay, you carved it out for your own now. You have to do testing, in-depth testing of that particular application. That will call the tester's life cycle, which is going to be our next training in the next section and our next class about the tester's life cycle. So testing has one particular life cycle. Okay, so then comes deployment of the system. Deployment system is the next phase. Okay, you have, I think I've explained who does the deployment of those particular applications. What you see on your facebook.com or chasebank.com, GT, UBA, they're all in production server. They're all deploying it. And who does the deployment is the DevOps guys, the profile called the DevOps engineers, production managers. They do all that. So deployment is the next phase. Then comes maintenance. Now, what happens in maintenance? Suppose I have created a software and my client say, no, this text box should accept only 10 characters, or this text box have to be green, or this, for example, this slide I did for you guys now is supposed to be red, not blue. I don't want it to be blue. Okay, so I created that software and my client say, no, in case of blue color, I want yellow color or I want red color. So in case of login, you apply the name, sign in. And you are very familiar with websites. You see sign in, you see apart from sign in, what do you see again? Login, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So these are the kind of scenario, the kind of work keeps on coming to you. A kind of maintenance keep on coming. Okay. You see, so after that goes straight to requirement analysis. You see, all those things, maintenance, I don't want this, you change all those things, all those stuff comes to login. I don't want login. I want to sign in. I don't want sign in. I want login. I don't want blue color. I want red. All those things comes in this maintenance phase. Okay. After that goes straight to what? Requirement gathering. Okay. So as soon as big requirements will come, and again, it will move from requirement gathering, system design, implementation, testing, deployment, and etc. maintenance. And I want you guys to understand that, remember, there is no time period for maintenance. If you want to ask that, there's no time frame for maintenance. There can be any time period for maintenance. There cannot be any time period for maintenance. It depends what agreement or deal you are making with the client. If you are saying, I will maintain this software from the next 6 months, that's your time frame. After that, you will be handing the software to the client. And you should note that in maintenance, all this happen during the requirement gathering. Okay? All this happen during the requirement gathering phase. What kind of maintenance you are going to do for that particular software. If I should take example for this particular maintenance now, let's take example for that kind of a banking. Let's take the banking as an example. We have two, like, let me say, you have two kind of customers. One is corporate customers, and the other is a retail customer. So initially, the banking application was developed for the what? This requirement gathering was developed for the corporate customers. You gather the requirements, you design it for corporate customers, you implement it for a corporate customer, you test it for a corporate customer, you deploy it for corporate customers. Now the client is coming in the maintenance section saying, no, I don't want that. I also want it to be for the what? For the retail customers. I want this application to be used by the retail customer also. So that will not come under maintenance. It will not come under maintenance phase. For that, a lot of things will be required. You have to start a lot of things from the scratch. You can't do it all here. You have to start it all from the scratch. Start it again for retail customers, implementing for retail customers, testing for retail customers, deploy for retail customers, and maintain for retail customers. So this will not come under maintenance. Maintenance is subjective. Maintenance is subjective and is being defined by the business team of the company. Okay, so anything you have to do on maintenance, you have to start all again and again, as the waterfall entails. Is the waterfall from top to the bottom. Every requirement you have to gather again, you have to start all over again and again and again and again. That's what waterfall model is entail, from top to the bottom. I'm implementing this particular software. I'm getting the requirement for the customers, for the retail customers, for the corporate customers, for the banking application. I'm designing it, implementing it, and testing it. Then I move to the next phase, which is deploying that particular software, and I'm maintaining that particular software. It depends on the deal you have with the customers. I'm not going to maintain that particular software. And now on that phase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the 6th phase, which is maintenance phase, the customer, the client is going, no, I don't want this to be blue slide. I want it to be red. I want it to be blue. I want it to be green. It will not come under this. I can't do any changes here. I have to start all over again. Start doing that. Retail customer, implement for retail customers, testing for retail customer, then deployment to the server for the retail customers. So the maintenance is subjective to what? Requirement gathering, which is being defined by a business team of that particular company, your obligation. Question? Any doubts? Self-explanatory. SDLC commonly asked interview questions. Yemi, do you have any question? Nicholas, do you have any question? Mida?
I'm just following, it's illustrative and very explanatory, but I'm just following. So when I watch the video again, then I will really get it very well.
Okay. So now in all these things, can someone tell me, is anything, I don't really actually want to get a real answer from you, but can you tell me what can be the disadvantage and advantage of this waterfall model? Abraham, I don't really expect any question, any answer from you, but can some of those, as you are a QA analyst, and you actually elaborate on more, get some more technical, analytical skills to be there, but can you tell me what could be disadvantages of our advantage of this waterfall model? Sister Chi, do you have anything in mind?
I'm Abraham.
Yes, I do. Okay. When you were talking about the waterfall, and we have to go through the process of the design and implement testing and develop. And when we come to the maintenance, and we find there is maybe there's a fault that we have to work on, that will make us go back all the way back to start the work again. I mean, that's the disadvantage of working with waterfall system like software. I just think that's the disadvantage. It's going to take us time again to go through the process. Again. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's one of those disadvantages too. Abraham, do you have anything? That's one of those disadvantages here.
Yeah. Actually, that's what was on my mind too, because since it is subjective to the requirement gathering and analysis.
Yeah.
So if there be any problem and the client is coming with another decision, so it's going to be a tedious work again from the beginning.
Yeah, you have to go
Anyway,
back again and again.
fight them again anyway.
Yeah, time consuming. All right. So anything in life, it has its own advantages and those disadvantages. So what are those disadvantages in traditional waterfall, linear waterfall model? And we have to discuss. One, simple. Advantages. Very simple. It's very simple. As soon as it's very simple, as soon as idea comes to your mind as a QA analyst, as a tech people, the simplest life cycle model you approach is the waterfall model, the traditional waterfall model. You will do the requirement gathering, you will do designing, implementing it, testing it, deploying it, and then maintenance as the deal by your clients. All right, so it's very simple. You will test it and deploy it. It's very simple. And again, there's no overlapping. All right. In the sense that no overlapping is that in each and every phase, yeah, in each and every phase, you can see there is no overlapping. In each and every phase, it's independent of each other. Business team is not going to disturb the testing team. The testing team is not going to disturb the development team when they are building the software. There is no overlapping within the team. You see that. Business people gathering those requirements, you are there in the meeting, designing, technical team, implementing it, front-end developers are doing theirs. So there is no overlapping. Everybody on their own is independent of each other. There is no overlapping. There's no overlapping within the team. Easy to manage. Okay? Because it's very simple, then it will be very easy to manage. And the requirements are well understood. Any question? And what I did include in this slide is that is not included in this slide is that waterfall model is a basic building block of any of the model which you will use, any kind of model, any software development team is using as a base, waterfall is there. Okay, anything they want to embark on, any model at all in a tech team, waterfall is there. It's a building block. And that is the most advantage of waterfall model that is being asked in the interview as well. More frequently asked questions in the interview, when you're sitting for your interview. They ask you, now, if the waterfall is so slow, you can see it's so slow. You can see that it's so slow that, you have to gather your requirements to move from one phase to the other, designing it, implementing it, testing it, and deploying it, and all those things. Now, if the waterfall is so slow that we have to get software in 6 months, 1 year, or 9 months, and so. So what is the importance of waterfall model? Question like this pops out in the interview. As I told you, so waterfall is a basic block Okay? Be it because it's so slow, you have to get your software at the latest phase, you have to do your requirement gathering, system design, implementing it, deploying it, and then maintenance and start our fresh again. And all this is so slow. It takes like 9 months, it takes 9. So if it's so slow and you get the software at the late phase, so what is the importance of waterfall model? Question like this pops out in the interview. So waterfall models, I told you, your answer is that since waterfall is so slow, is because it is the basic building block for any software development life cycle. Not here in this class or wherever in your industry, but anywhere around the world. Any requirement comes to you, you think of waterfall because it's the building block of any software development life cycle. And as I told you, being the building block, anything that has advantages has its own disadvantages too. It's difficult to go back. Those are those disadvantages. Difficult to go back. Can you go back? You can. It's overlapping. After requirement, you move to the other. Water. Does water goes back from waterfall? Have you ever seen waterfall that goes back again?
It's difficult.
No, it falls down from top to down. So you do the implementation, you do the testing, deploy it. If any error, it starts all over again. So it's difficult to go back. Because it's difficult to go back. All right? No working software till late stages. No working software till late stages. I can say there's no working software till late this stage before you can see the software. As you can see, there are different phases, all right? There are different phases of development. I cannot release anything before testing. I have to do requirement gathering of it, implementing it, testing the fourth phase of it. So clients will not be able to see the software till the late phase, right? You won't be able to see the software till the late phase. Suppose I have given a commitment of 1 year, maybe the human resources, Texas Human and Health Resources embark in a project. We have to, there's healthcare.gov and all those stuff like that. So we have to build this particular software for their end users. They will not be able to see that software until late phase. And I've given a commitment of 1 year. I will give this working software in 1 year. Then after 9 months, they will see for the first time the working software, not before that. Until this testing, deployment, you see all these things. You have to go through all these phases. You see that's one of those disadvantages. Your clients will be able to see your software at it. Maybe you are giving a commitment of 1 year. Okay, so they will be able to see that software until that period of time. So that's what I mean by no working software till late stages. It's not good for online projects. What do I mean by online projects? What are online projects? Can someone tell me? This software, this SDLC, this waterfall model is not good for online projects. What do I mean by online projects? Can anyone tell me what I mean by online projects? I think I gave you some serious example of an online project, e-commerce application, those are online projects. What do I mean by online projects? Anyone?
Like Amazon.
Amazon.
eBay.
eBay. Those are e-commerce applications, right? Okay, if I'm giving online project, anything which is changing rapidly. Okay, maybe there's a sale going on right now. Maybe there's a Mother's Day coming on. Okay, and I have to make changes to this application. I can't do that when it comes to traditional waterfall. I can't do that on this because I have to do commitment. I have to change it immediately. So it's not really good because the traditional waterfall, you have to gather the requirement, design it, implementation, testing it, and all those things. So it's not really good for online project because we are in all evolving world. Okay, the world is evolving. Things are rapidly changing. So these online projects are anything which is changing rapidly. So design of e-commerce application, which we seeing today, by tomorrow the designing is changing. There's a deal going on. Maybe a commitment of this sale, maybe one of the product is sell for this amount of time, and they want to reduce it to 50% discount or whatever. So you cannot do that commitment in this period of time. So it's not good for online. Applications. That's what I mean by so if you are using traditional waterfall model, will not be able to accommodate this any sudden development in time. All the e-commerce application, everything that is online these days will be very difficult to manage using this waterfall model because rapidly it changes. There is sale coming on. So you have to make some changes immediately. So waterfall model, you can't do that changes. You can just accommodate online e-commerce application. So that's one of those one of those disadvantages of not good for online projects. Okay. The risk factor is high. The risk factor is high. Anything that has many disadvantages, we have the high risk factors, cost risks, resource risks, and everything. So you have the risk factor. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by disadvantage of having a very risk factor for what you can able to understand? Your own analytical skills. What I mean by risk factor is high. Risk factor could be very, very high. The risk factor is very high. You can't use the waterfall model for any application because the risk factor is very high. It's not good for online projects. You can see your e-commerce application on eBay and all those shopping sites is high.
Because it's sequential, because it follows step by step. If testers, for example, get any defect, it tend to shake the whole project as a whole.
Okay, that's a risk factor.
And in projects like this, the possibility of getting a lot of defects is very high.
Yes. That's resources. Okay. Anyone that want to add to it?
I can. Yeah.
Yes.
I can say when we think about the risk factor that is high, that means it's gonna cause a lot of damages and a lot of delay for us to carry out our projects. So since we cannot go back or like maybe come in the middle and say, okay, for us for the the project to be resolved in the middle. So we have to start all over again. So it's a very high risk factor for whatever projects we're trying to deliver.
Yes, we are talking about the resource. So yes, that's right, because the risk factor is going to be very high. So risk factor is high. Let me elaborate on that. Like for instance, when you are developing this particular software, okay, and you are being committed millions of dollars and billions of dollars for this particular project, okay. So, and there are various kinds of risks. The cost risk is there. Support client has given you the money, and in the late phase, you are getting to know that the requirements of this particular software, the requirements of client is something else, and you have developed something else. The risk is high. Another kind of risk here is you're testing your software. You are testing this software very late. You don't know how many bugs, how many defects. That's what I mean by the bugs. How many bugs the testing team will open in this phase. You don't know how many bugs the testing team will open. That is another risk here. You are giving something big to the client as the end product. If you are giving something some kind of error, then what will happen to your cost? The cost value here, the cost team, and what will happen to the commitment to the clients? They say they lose a lot of resources. So the risk factor is very, very high because you are testing very low at the late phase. So that's one of those disadvantages of waterfall. The cost is very, very high. You are being committed a very hard, huge amount of money, and you are producing a very bulk when you are raising, because testing is at the late phase, it's in the fifth phase or so. So the cost risk is very, very high. Okay, so what are those advantages and disadvantages of waterfall model? Hope you are well understood on this. Traditional, linear, or the same waterfall model. Another model we have in hand is what we call the V model. The V model you can see on the screen is what we call at the left-hand side, we have what we call development life cycle. We have the tester life cycle. We have the verification phase. We also have the validation phase. What happens in the V model of SDLC? If your company is embarking on V model, we don't want traditional model. We're embarking on V model. What happens in V model? You can see in V model, we have what we call the BRX, which is business requirement specification. We have the SRS with the system requirement specification. We have the high-level design. We have the low-level design. Coding, then we have the code. Then moving up to the right-hand side, we have the unit testing, component testing, system integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. This is what they call the tester's life cycle, which is called the validation phase. It is a V model. What does it take? What is verification phase? What is verification in V model? All right. Verification is when you are, let's start from verification phase, okay? I will come to validation. Now, let's come to verification. Now, what is verification? Verification is when you are doing your testing in a static manner, accordingly, static, all right? What documents are there? You have to read about it, if it's correct or not. Okay, you are doing your BRS requirements, you are doing your SRS, the specification requirements. And see, now when it comes to business requirement, now in V model phase, okay? We're talking about the verification phase. A document is being handed to you as a QA. You have to go through those documentation thoroughly. Make sure there's no spelling mistake. Just like instance, now I'm using the Zoom to transmit, to interact with you. In the Zoom software, we are trying to develop a Zoom software. And the Zoom software has different functionalities on the Zoom software. You can share, you can do a numerous of things on Zoom. I can't even mention a lot of things on Zoom. So let me take for example for the sharing page. Okay, this is documentation that was handed to you. In the place of sharing, they push this. It's all sharing. All right, you can share, right? Like an icon where you can share. But it's all X, they put X. Sorry, they put, that's a bug, that's the error. You're able to cut that functionality, that wrong spelling from that verification phase. You are verifying that documentation. The Zoom meeting software. There is also one end product. Now, somebody sharing is wrong. Why designing this functionality? The business team wrote this thing as Age ARNG. It's all of this. The spelling was wrong. So those kind of testing is what we know as verification, not validation. You are going to your SRS, your business requirement documentation. Those are what they call verification phase of that V model. So all the inspection, all the review for the documents, whatever this SRS, that is the system requirement specification I have created, the testing team will review it. You guys have to review it. So there's no bug into the system when they start developing it. So all this comes under verification phase of V model. So the testing people will be there in the development life cycle. That's why I say the QA is very, very essential. They will be there in every phase of SDLC in that V model phase. You have to be there. You have to look at those documentation, make sure everything spelled this is right. So the testing people will be there in the development life cycle, right from the scratch. From the SRS, high-level design, low-level design, coding of it, then have a chunk of code that they use for the actual testing, which I'm going to explain in a few minutes. I hope you all understand what you mean by validation phase, verification phase. You are doing the SRS, you are doing the BRS, you are doing the SRS, spellings, mistakes, everything, all right? You guys are developing a bank application. And the mistake, I told you in the last demo section, you make a mistake, you're developing what? Instead of Bank of America, you say Bank of America. That's the error, all right? So you cut this at this phase. So verification phase of V model is what you are doing your testing in a static manner. Everyone do you know what I mean by static in English terms? Or in a static manner. I'm doing something in physics. I'm doing something in a static manner.
I think it's not dynamic. It's just like straightforward thing.
Straightforward. Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
You guys straightforward. You are doing your testing in a straightforward, dynamic manner. Any question? Well understood? Are you cleared? Now, going to validation. Now, the validation phase, that's what we call the tester's life cycle. This is your own phase now. The tester's life cycle under the V model. The tester's life cycle. The other end right here is what? Developer's life cycle. It entails the BA guys, the DA guys, which you are going to be there. You do have to check on spelling mistake, make sure everything is done in a static manner, make sure the spelling mistakes are all correct before you guys start moving to your tester's life cycle. This involves you guys. The right hand side involves you. The left hand side involves you also, but it involves the QA members. This is for the QA members, developers, the BAs and the DAs, the Scrum Masters. Everybody's involved here. But when it comes to this phase, they are not involved. This is your own phase. Very crucial, very serious. This is your own phase, which is called the what? The tester's life cycle. Now, the validation phase, which is called the tester life cycle, the other is the developer life cycle, and this is the tester life cycle, which is your own phase. What will happen in unit testing now? I told you that now, after the BRS requirements, another phase is the SRS, high-level design. Don't worry about it, I'll tell you about that. High-level design, the low-level design, and they have the coding, start coding. They have a chunk of code that you have to use for the actual testing. Okay? Now, come to the unit testing. Unit testing, like I created a very small unit, okay? I create a very small unit. I create one signing box. What I call my unit testing is like, I create one signing box. You all be seeing that in your day-to-day web page. You want to sign in your account. You see, then I created a one sign-in box. That is what I mean by unit testing. Unit testing. One unit. In testing, we'll call it a module, right? One module. Okay? Unit testing. That's what unit testing. I'm testing one unit. That simple signing box is one unit. That we call unit testing. I'm testing it. Follow me sequentially. You're going to understand. All right? Now, what is component testing? What is component testing? Because sometimes in English, what is components? What do you understand about what components? What do you understand about that term? Components. Component testing. Compose two things together. Plural, not singular. This is singular. This is plural. Username, password. Right? I'm testing this particular components. Two of them. Plural. Singular, sorry. Plural. Compose. Component testing. I'm testing this particular module. All right? So I'm testing this particular test box, just signing box, just this one, just this passwords. All right? It's unit testing, your unit. In the IT terminology, it's called one module. That module, all right? Then this is another unit. Together, two components of, combination of two units comprises of what we call components testing. So component testing is supposed to have taken one sign-in and one password, username and password. Sign in, okay? Username, password. This is our components. So we have taken in one sign-in and one password. So two things is creating one complete functionality. What is that functionality? Signing of that user that will be one component. When I log into my username and password, I'm able to land it into that home page. That's component testing. I'm testing this particular two units. Units, two units make up one component testing. That what we mean by component testing. Unit testing is what testing one unit, one password, just this text box. If I'm testing more than these two passwords and testing the username and password, that makes it one component, that's components. Singular, plural. Correct? Get it right?
Yes.
All right, I hope I'm self-explanatory. Then it moved up to what? System integration testing. System integration testing. What do you understand by integration in English term? Integration. People integrating. Integration in English term is the actual process of uniting different things, right?
Yes.
That's in these terms, integrated. So now I'm talking about system integration testing. What is that system integration testing? Let's take example of email. You have an email, you have Gmail account, you have Facebook, you have Yahoo email, and thereabouts, a lot of accounts. So let's take example of email. So as soon as we sent an email from draft, like you guys click on compose, you are typing your email. You click on draft folder, your compose folder, or whatever, you're drafting email. Hello, friends. Will you be available tomorrow? Okay. I'll be blah, 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 blah. You're typing, you know. If you look at your draft, you can see one mail about to be sent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from draft, it goes to sent box. So how my new email is interacting with draft and sent email, all this type of testing is happening in system integration testing. How my module, different module is interacting. I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. If you don't understand them, you just raise your hand so I will further explain. You can mute yourself, please. Any question? I presume that is no. So how does your drafts and your send box, when you are drafting your mail and you click on send and you see that one mail has been sent, so how those particular module, use that terminology, module, how those modules interacting with each other, how can system integration testing, that what it is. We should have a separate session on types of testing. Then you're able to understand what this type of testing is all about. What is unit testing, component testing, system integration testing. All these are what you get to understand. So there are different types of testing. We have manual testing, as I explained to you in the demo section. We have automation testing, also type of testing. So there are various types of testing. We have acceptance testing, okay? System testing, integration testing, component testing, unit testing. We have to cover this again in coming classes. All right. So therefore, system testing is how your different modules, okay? How your different modules is like your inbox, your draft, your compose, how those modules, okay, if I take an example of that Gmail account, all right? So system testing is how your different modules, different components of the application are interacting with each other, how they are integrating, okay, how they are integrated with each other. This is all about system integration testing. Any question, please? Can unmute yourself and ask me now. I'll try to elaborate to you so you understand more of what it is all about. System integration testing, how your modules, your drafts, your compose boards are interacting with each other, how they behave. That's what we call by system integration testing. Now come system testing now. As a testing team, I have to do the complete testing of any application. Your Gmail account, for instance, I have to do a complete testing of that particular account. Let's take an example from the email, right? I want to take an example for a Gmail account, right? I have to see how new sent in, how new sent, inbox, draft, chunk, delete, all testing I have to do. Then we can say a system testing. I'm checking out all these things, how it's behaving. That's what I mean by system testing, not system integration testing. System integration testing is interaction, how they interact with each other, how they behave. But system testing have to check the whole, how my inbox, draft, compose, delete, junk, personnel, everything, those modules, they're called modules, how they are behaving, okay? That was like system. I'm checking the whole system as a whole. So I can say is system testing. I will be providing a sign-off box. You can see in the Gmail account, you can see you have a sign-off, right? Hello, you can see your sign-off box. So the testing sign-off is given after doing the system testing. It's you, the QA, that put that on the system, on the Gmail. Because I've done the overall testing of all that application. Then you provide the sign-off box. Now everything is right. Everything's okay. As I told you that you have the power to release any products in the market. So now, since you have done this, you have done the unit testing of it, you have done the component testing of it, you have done the system integration testing of it, system testing of it, then you then provide the sign-off. So when this testing sign-off from the testing team is given, after that is called the what acceptance what testing. What happened in acceptance testing is that as the client, the business people will test the software. They are the one that gave you the requirements, right? They have to test what you have to give to the end user, the clients. So they do the acceptance that is well accepted by us. So what happens in acceptance testing? As the clients, the business people will test their software and they will say it is good to use for the client. That is actually acceptance testing. That's what it's all about. Hope you're clear with all these terminologies. Any question, guys, you can unmute yourself and ask me. This is the most important part in interview question. What is verification and validation? Most commonly asked interview question. Any question?
Question is, if you were to answer that interview question, how exactly would you say? I know you've been explaining it, but if it was just you, how would you say it to the interviewer?
If you are to ask what, if you are to ask you what?
So the question of you said the most important question in every interview is the verification, right?
And validation.
Validation. So I'm thinking, like, how would they ask? Would they just say what is verification and validation? Sorry, what's verification and validation?
Yeah.
Yes. Is that what they do, or how do they frame the question? And how do you answer them?
Yeah, as I said, this is the most important part in interview question. What is verification and validation? If you follow what I explained to you, you're able to give a very good panel in interview. I mean, get a very good point in interview panel. As I told you, what unit testing, you know what unit testing is? You're testing one particular module, one text box. Okay? Component testing, plural, or singular, composed of two things. I was taking my signing box, username and password. That is comprised of component testing. System integration testing, it's just validation and verification. I'm doing my testing in a static manner. Okay, I'm doing the SRS, I'm doing the BRS, I'm doing the SRS, I'm doing the high level design, I'm doing the low level design, then the coding of it. Then I have a chunk of code. And let me elaborate on that. Okay, let me put more light on high level design and the low level design. I hope I got your question right about verification and validation, right? You
Yes,
are
yes.
doing,
I just
yeah,
wanted
you are
to, I
verifying,
just wanted
okay?
to ask.
Yeah,
It-
you are doing your testing in a static manner, okay? You are doing your SRS, you are doing your BRS, business requirement documentation, you are catching those particular functionality, maybe any, just spelling mistakes.
Okay.
Bank of America, it's supposed to be Bank of America. Why is it Bank of America? You catch those particular bug, those particular spelling mistakes. That is verification. Before you start going to actual validation. Validation is the tester's life cycle. You are doing your testing, okay? So that is your own phase. So verification, you are doing the actual spelling mistakes, like you are doing your business requirement documentation, bookish part of it. But testing, you are doing the actual software testing of it. Okay, that's what the difference is about verification and validation. Then if I should throw more highlights on high-level design and low-level design, let's put more highlights on high-level design and low-level design. Like you can see your Chase Bank, okay? Or you can see your Facebook account, or you can see your e-commerce application. So what I mean by high-level design is that when I go to my Chase Bank or I go to my website here, okay, all these web elements constitutes in a high-level design. Okay, I have to all these things, view, clothing, jacket, dresses, skirts and trousers, grooves and gift set, all this in all high-level design. And if you go to your chasebank.com, your banking application, there's an e-commerce application I just showed to you. If you go to your chasebank.com, you can see educational and goals, you can see your sign-in, username and password. You can see you want to apply for credit card, checking, travels, and all these things. All this constitute an high-level design. Then the low-level design is what we mean by this. One text box, just this text box is constituting your low-level design. Picking out one particular module from this particular high-level design constitute your low-level design. Okay? Because here, before you can able to sign into this particular page, okay, you have to do what? You have to enroll, right? Not enroll, you have to sign up. You have to sign up now. You have to sign up your username. You have to create your account. You have to create your username and password. You have to enter your name. You have to enter your address. All these constitute what? Your low-level design. But the high-level design, what is constituted on this web page, is said. But picking out one thing from this particular website constitutes what? Your low-level design. High-level design is all what you see on this page in a high level. Breaking it down now, I want to sign in so you're able to log into this application. Then when I click on the sign up box, I have to enter my name, my last name, my email address. Sorry, you're not seeing my screen. I have to log into my, can you see my screen right now? Okay, I have to log into my username. I have to create my username and I have to log into my, before I able to use this account. So that constitutes your low-level design. Low-level design means both are part of the design phase or design phase. Functional design there are various components of the applications, right? Of these applications. A different component of these applications. So how they are interacting with each other. So the classic example which I took, like signing and password, create one single component. So that is what is low-level design. High-level design is the sign in, password, sign up, create an account, everything present on this web page, okay, constitutes your high-level design of that page. So the low-level design is taken out of the complete functionality from that page. Sign in is one complete functionality. Sign out is one complete functionality. Forget password is one complete functionality. Under one complete functionality, there are various units. Okay? There are various units of that software. If I'm doing sign up, then email is one of the fields. My create password is one of the fields. Choose a name is one of the fields. All these are small units. I hope you get it clear. High-level design and low-level design. All these are all high level. When you fly in the aircraft, when you look down, it's a high level. You see everything in a high level. Okay? Everything present on your web page is on high level. This is a very important question in the interview. I want you to get it clear right here. That's why I'm trying to elaborate more. Any question, guys? This is typical interview questions. What are the difference between verification and validation? What's the difference between verification and validation? If you explain like this in your interview, it will really help you. We want give you a very hands up in your interview panel. We want to take 10 seconds if anyone has any question in regards to this verification and validation. Any question, guys? Typical interview question, validation and validation. Now, if I should summarize, I'm trying to put more light on it. If I should summarize, again, verification is testing in a static manner. I'm going to review all my words. I'm going to review all my words. Documents and every design I have created statically, not as end products. In validation here, which is left-hand side here, we will do all this kind of testing. Actual testing happens in validation phase. Okay, we do unit testing, component testing, system test, integration testing, system testing, perseveral testing. I'll all explain all this to you. Right? That's the difference between the validation and verification and validation phase in SDLC, the view model. As I told you, that integration means one module is integrating with another module, like your inbox and your draft, your sent and your draft, they're interacting with each other. And when we are talking about system testing, it comes as a whole. The complete email you have to test. That is different between integration testing and system testing. Right, guys? Cleared? Well understood? So as I told you that anything that have a disadvantage has what? Its own advantages. Anything that have its own advantages has its own disadvantages. So what are those disadvantages and what are those advantages when it comes to V model if your company is embarking on that? Number one, in V model, there is early test design. The advantage of V model is that early testing, we are doing a lot of verification, okay? Early testing design, because if there is a lot of bug in the system, if there is a lot of spelling mistake in the documentation, we can cut that. We can catch that in the early phase. So that's one of those advantages. Early tracking of defects, and also easy to use. One of those disadvantages is that it's rigid, meaning you cannot go from one point to the other. As you can see from the diagram, you cannot go back. It goes from here. You can see the BRS is pointing to the acceptance testing because everybody is involved. The SRS, you are doing the system testing. High-level design, you are doing system integration testing. Look at, you can see that. Can someone explain this to me? You know someone that this is all about? Like, this arrow is pointing to system integration testing. High-level design is pointing to system integration testing. It's high level. Everything in the system is also high level. You see, it's interrelated to each other. That's why I made the arrow to be like this. The low-level design is component design. Low-level design, component design. You see what component design is also goes hand to hand to that of component design. Coding, okay? Unit testing, one small unit. You are testing that small unit. Once you have a chunk of code, okay, for the BRS documentation, SRS, the high-level design, low-level design, the coding, and you had actual codes, the chunk of code. This chunk of code is actually used for the testing. You start doing your testing, unit testing of it, component testing of it, system integration testing of it, system as a whole of the application. Then the business people, you see that this arrow is pointing because the business people has to do what? The acceptance testing of it. So you can see everything correlates to each other. So you can see everything that have its own advantages has its own disadvantages. And I said it's rigid, meaning you cannot go from one part to the other. And I should tell you that I have to tell you that all the models we see is going to be rigid, be that a waterfall, okay? Be that a waterfall model, all right? All these models will be rigid. And you know what I mean by rigid, okay? It's not easy to go back. Any model we're going to discuss today have to be rigid. It's going to be rigid, apart from agile. We elaborate more on agile when it comes to that, okay? It's not easy to go back. It's all the models we will see is going to be rigid apart from agile, all right? So another disadvantage is that there's no prototyping. I will elaborate on that and what I mean by no prototyping, because early release does not happen. There is a delay, okay? So prototyping will be discussed in the next model, all right? So no prototyping. So if you do the English term, early release doesn't happen, all right? So prototyping is just like you have to give the client what a working software, okay, as you are releasing. So there's no prototyping when it comes to V model, all right? Tough to accommodate changes. What do I mean by that? Anyone tell me? Tough to accommodate changes. Same like waterfall model. You will find it difficult to accommodate changes. What do I mean by that? Tough to accommodate changes. You can meet yourself, make it interactive, say your points. What do you mean by what I mean by tough to accommodate changes? Clarice, Frank, any idea? We are 20 here. Don't want like tough to accommodate changes. It's way explanatory. What I mean by tough to accommodate changes.
That means it's not really flexible. Yeah, maybe you have to go back again and make the changes. You can't make the changes in the middle.
Yeah, it's very tough. Yeah, if you look at it from the diagram, you can see that it's tough to accommodate changes. You can't go by, just the arrow goes down, goes up, just like that. So that's it. If your organization, your key organization, if you are undergoing on the review model, is one of those disadvantages that is tough to accommodate changes. You can't use for that kind of e-commerce application. So that's one of those disadvantages. And I put a question mark here. Can someone, from your own analytical skill, can you give me one advantage and one disadvantage of this V model? You can have numerous of them in on the Google, but can you just give me one of them before you proceed? Can you put your own advantage and disadvantages there in the question mark? What do you think is going to be the advantage and disadvantages? Be vocal. Think, what do you think is going to be your own advantage and disadvantage from the slides?
I can say the advantage is easy to use. And no, you already have easy to use, easy to maintain, well, high risks of maintenance.
Rate of maintenance as time consuming. Okay. Okay. I would say time consuming will also be one of the disadvantages. Time consuming should be one of those disadvantages. And for one advantages is that, as I say, it's good for small, I would say it's good for small projects. Okay, it's good for small projects. And if you Google it, you will see 10 advantages and disadvantages of this vMobile. So what I want to like you to understand is that always have the practical approach anytime you are doing testing interviews or testing point of view. Always have that particular approach because the demonstration, we learned that as a testing member, you act as an end user. Always try to give the example during the interview, okay? Try to understand the practical approach. Don't try to put all bookish kind of definition. That's why I'm trying to try to break it down so like try in layman term so you're able to understand. So try to make it practical, not try to tell them, oh, this is vModel is this and that. No. Try to make it explanatory, make it practical scenario, act as an end user, as we said in the demo section. So that's going to give you a very good interview, give a very good preview in your interview panel. So talk about the vModel, the advantages and disadvantages of it. So another thing is incremental model. Okay. And our time is out spent. I just want to rush it. Incremental model, you can look at this picture. You can see that he's thinking about it. What am I going to build? A template of it. I'm thinking something. Then I create a picture in this one, and this is half picture. Then I create another one, which almost gets to the full. Then the third phase, I have a full picture, a full diagram of it. So incremental model, we have one big requirement, okay? You can see that we have one big requirement, incremental increments, okay? Increase, all right? As the name implies, increments, all right? We have one big requirement. We do it in different phases. We'll be using different phases for it. We'll be able to give the customer one prototype, all right? One prototype, as I said, is just like a working software, something to test, right? That's what I mean by prototype. So if I give the client what was developed and client finds bugs in this first phase, all right, If find bugs in this first frame, maybe a defect, it's not really working fine. If find bugs in the half picture only, then you know the testing team has to put more effort, okay? And you will be able to implement those things as well. So incremental model is very important in Agile. It's part of Agile. I know some of you have a Scrum experience, you know what Agile is, all right? But you elaborate that more on your next section. So in Agile, we kind of use incremental model only, all right? So you can see for one build, all right? For one build requirement, for one build, we will be doing the build in various ways. Build 1, build 2, to n number of builds, all right? It means there are various builds in between. For every build, we'll be doing designing of it, design and development, testing and implementation, all right? We're doing testing and implementation of that particular build. So in build 2, we're doing the same thing, and that's it. So can someone tell me what is build? What do I mean by build? After gathering the requirements, we have different n number of builds, build 1, build 2, build 3, build 4, 100 builds, n number of builds. What do I mean by builds? Can someone tell me what I mean by builds? Our time is fast spent. I just want to round up. What is build? Okay, build is anything I can give to the customer, all right? A build, you can see some sort of software, say build 1.25.2. Okay, those are builds, okay? Build is anything I can give to this customer, any small chunk of code, small chunk of code, just like this. Any chunk of code I have to use for testing, all right? That's the build I have to give to my customer. All right, that's what build is all about. Any chunk of code and design which is properly tested, which I can give as an end product, is like a small chunk and it's happening in various phases. I'm doing that in different phases in phase 1, build 2, build 3. So that's what build is. So incremental model is that kind of thing we use, and Agile is being used in that kind of incremental model. So it has its own disadvantages and has its own advantages. So what are those advantages and disadvantages? Early release. I'm giving the client the product in early stages. It's flexible, easy to test, and its disadvantage is that good planning is required. Require a lot of planning in this. For example, in the picture, you can see in the build 1, I will not give the picture, but the background only. So maybe the client is having a bug in that system, and I'm giving it a wrong picture in that particular application. Then it's not a good planning. If I take example of an email account, maybe the client, first of all, I create the sent inbox, a sent box. So what clients will do with the send box? You create a send box. Okay, what is client going to do with the send box? New email are still not, the new email is not still coming. So what the client will do with send box? So why don't you clean the send box first, compose board before send box? So that means it's not a good planning. So planning is required. It requires a lot of good planning. So if you are sending a send box first to the clients, that is a bad planning. It requires a lot of good planning. That's one of those disadvantages of incremental model. Clarity on both ends is required in that particular application. A lot of implementation. These are more resource, more mature architecture will be required, more business people will be required in that particular incremental model. And high cost also is required. High cost because in high cost builds, you are doing a lot of testing, a lot of implementation. These are more resources that are going to be spent, more mature architecture. As I told you about being a text architecture, text experts, architectural experts, these are highly paid. So if you are embarking on this incremental model, one of the disadvantages is that you are doing a lot of builds, a lot of testing, a lot of implementation. These are more resources that are going to be invested on. More mature architecture will be required. More business people will be required. So we need more experts in this particular required. So this is one of those disadvantages in incremental model. So finally, in um, testing model, you have what you call the spiral model. What is spiral model entails? It takes a lot of, you can see we have planning, we have a risk analysis, we have engineering, we have evaluation. In this model, risk analysis involved prototyping, coding, testing, see the winding. From there, you see from this speed, keep on increasing, keep on winding. So I call it spirit. But though it's not sparingly used in the industry. All right. In software, a lot of risk assessment has to happen if you are to build some kind of project which is needed to be highly secured. Though every software needs some kind of security, but there are some software that require highly security in it. For any phase, you are doing some kind of risk analysis. You can see that we are doing prototyping. Okay. You can see we are doing testing of it. You can see customer evaluation. Because all these things are required if your company, your organization is embarking on spiral model, but it's very used in the industry. Okay. And risk analysis is not only related to software, how the clients will behave with it, and all these things. So doing a lot of a spiral model. In every phase, is basically the phase goes like incremental. You can see that incremental model only. You will be doing prototyping, coding, you'll be coding it, you'll be testing it, and then you'll be doing the risk analysis of it. And for the next build, you'll be doing risk analysis of it, just like it's winding the phase. You keep on winding. Like that, the circle goes on and on. It keeps on increasing because the software size is increasing. That's why the circle keeps on increasing. But it's probably used in industry, not actually used in industry in software team. So software spiral model has its own advantages. It also has its own disadvantages. What are those advantages? Risk analysis of it. For the software that requires a lot of security, this model is good, but sparingly used in any kind of software industry. Don't actually use that. So strong documentation is required. So documentation is present, and additional functionality is required in this part of team. So when it comes to the disadvantages, high cost is involved. For all these builds, you need a lot of guys apart from development team. So cost is very high. A lot of expertise are involved. Critical risk analysis involved. You need to involve a lot of expertise in this experiment. So whatever you are developing, you need to have expertise in that domain actually. Then only you can use this spiral model. All right. So what have we talked today? We talk about SDLC. What is SDLC? Is software development life cycle, and is a phase that you all need to do before embarking any model. Any question, guys? Before we round up, our time is fast spent. So before we dive into Agile, there are different topics we have to do before we go into Agile methodologies. And you know what Agile is planning in the industry. And before then, I want to say SDLC in Agile. SDLC Agile. Agile is a kind of industry always use Agile because it's expedient. And you can see that what is Agile? If I ask you what is Agile, Agile is that ability to move quickly. Okay. Okay, from our own dictionary term. Okay, Agile is not a model. I want to clarify it today. Agile is not a model. Agile is a way of developing the software. It is a way of working. When I say my methodology is Agile, I mean I want to deliver my software. I want to deliver that thing quickly or rapidly. So basically, in combination of incremental and interactive model, it keep on increasing the builds one by one and keep on delivering that particular product. So agile method breaks the product into small incremental models. Okay. So that's one thing about agile. We want to talk about agile extensively. What are doing about agile methodology, but I just want to have that clear, brief knowledge of what agile in SDLC is all about. So agile method breaks the product into small incremental builds. These builds are provided in iterations. You can see that from this diagram. You can see that combination, iteration, and incremental process. Okay, so that's what agile is. The tasks are divided in two iteration blocks. Agile method breaks the product into more incremental models. These builds are provided in iterations. The tasks are provided into time boxes, small time frame to deliver specific features for a release of any software. So if you look at this diagram, you can see that when you plan a particular product, you do your requirement gathering, you do your building of it, testing, they release it. Every 2 to 3 months, some companies, some organizations do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they release it. On that phase again, you do your planning, you gather your requirements, designing of that software, building, testing, then you release it. So that's what agile is. That's why I said it is what combination of interactive and incremental process. Okay, it is a way of SDLC to deliver a particular software in a timely manner. Okay, so when we see the incremental model have integration for it, this happen in agile as well. You're planning it, designing it, building it, testing it, and every 2 to 3 weeks, a software is being released. Okay, this iteration is what we know as sprints, but we're going to talk that for those that is from to understand what that is, but we want to dive into that. I just want to have more acquaintance of what agile is. All right. So what are those manifestos of agile? Before we end the class, we have just 2 minutes to end the class. What are those manifestos of agile? I want you to understand the importance to go through the principle, because before we start the software testing and the technical technologies, so that we will be mentally prepared how testing happens currently in the software industry. Agile we discuss after SDLC. We won't discuss this agile. I'm showing it to you right now. We won't discuss agile after SDLC, which we call software testing lifecycle, testing techniques, testing types, how to create a test cases, test scenarios. Then comes this agile. Well, I want you to have a fair bit about what this agile is all about. Okay, so you can see that individuals and interactions in agile development, self-organization, and motivation are important. You can say working software, demo working software is considered the means of communication with the customers to understand the requirement instead of just depending on documentation. Customer collaboration are so important, as the requirement cannot be gathered completing the beginning of the project due to various factors. Continuous customer interaction is very important to get proper documentation. That means in Agile, you have to respond to customers will talk to you very, very frequently. It's not as after giving you the requirements to go to, you then go to sleep. No, they will keep on collaborating with you. A lot of customer collaboration is required in Agile. All right. So you need to understand the Agile manifesto. Responsibility to change. You have to be responsible to change. They can come and tell you that we don't need we want you to sign in, we want to sign out. We don't need the sign in this text box. We want it to be logging. So you need to be focused on quick response to change and continuous development. That's what Agile is all about. So what are those pros and what are those pros? It's very realistic approach to software development, is promote teamwork and cross-training. Functional can be developed rapidly and demonstrate. Resource requirements are minimum, suitable for fixed or changing requirements. So all these are these pros and also the cons in Agile is this: not suitable for handling complex dependencies, more risk for sustainability and maintainability and sustainability of those particular software, depends heavily on customer interactions. All right, so one of those cons. So if customer is not clear, thing can be driven in the wrong direction. All right, so there's a very high individual dependencies since there is minimal documentation generated. So these are one of those cons in Agile. So that's going to the end of this class today. You have any questions? So just say it now before I end the class. At least you need to know what SDLC is, and you need to like explain when it comes to your interview. Any question before any class? Our time is fast spent.
Is this the last class we're gonna teach, or is it gonna be a continuous thing?
We have a lot to cover. I just told you. We have a lot to cover in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank
I
you
told
so
you
much.
this Agile has, before we come to Agile, I just want you to understand the Agile manifestos about Agile. So we're going to do our testing, types of testing. We're going to talk about SDLC, STLC, testing techniques, test cases, and test scenarios. How to create those test cases. Then talk about Agile, the role of the Scrum Master, and the role of your QA analyst. A lot we have to cover. So this I just want to get acquainted with the Agile cons and pros when it comes to Agile methodology. It's a way of deploying software in a timely manner. So most industry use 90% of industry use Agile methodology. So I just want to get acquainted to one of those manifestos of Agile. Agile in English is quickly, I want to deploy my software. Agile is not any model of SDLC. Agile is a way of deploying your software in a timely manner. Okay. So that's what Agile is. So I just want to understand the manifesto of Agile before we go into that.
All right. Thank you. No problem.
Ika, do you have any question? Clarice? Mamida? Before we end the class, our time is fast spent.
Hi, Stanley.
Yes.
I don't have a question, but please tell Okechukwu to always off his video. At least he can use the audio, so I will not be distracting people. Thank you.
Okay. Is anyone in this video okay? Can you off your video? Please, when you log in, just off your video. So we will concentrate. Nika, do you have any question? Frank, do you have any question? Okay. They will send the video to you. Please try to take notes and take most of these typing interview questions. All right. So I'll end the class for the session for today. This we can do as much for today. So give you 10 seconds. If you have any questions, say it now. If you don't have, so I can end the class. Thank you, everyone, and have a good Sunday.
Thank you, Stanley.
Right.
I really appreciate this. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stanley.
All right.
Bye. Okay, off your video. Hey, Jesus.